In the quiet space between desire and control, there lies a truth so deep that it has been overlooked for generations. What if I told you that the brilliant minds of psychology from Jung to today's brain scientists have discovered the force that creates unwavering devotion not through words or actions but through presence alone? This isn't about manipulation, it's about mastering the language of energy, understanding the invisible currents that shape how people feel, react, and connect. The Stoics call this logos, a silent inner power that can move others without movement. There are those who enter a room and instantly draw attention without uttering a single word. It's not confidence, nor is it charisma, it's something far more rooted, an unbreakable internal clarity that communicates directly with the hidden self of everyone around them. They don't seek connection. They attract it, and it is not accidentally, it's a practice, a belief system, a way of being that transcends speech. What I'm about to share goes beyond psychology, it's a transformational insight into how to communicate with someone's core identity, not through flattery or force, but through a subtle energy known to the ancients. It is a power built not on reaction but on stillness. If this strikes a chord with you, if you value truth, philosophy, and inner growth, then consider staying connected. It's a small act, but one that helps spread these ideas further. Do you know why rejection feels so sharp? It's not because we lose something we wanted, it's because we feel denied our right to matter in another person's eyes. That sting in your chest when you're ignored or are left out isn't logical, it's emotional. It comes from the part of you that craves recognition, that longs to be seen. When that need goes unmet, it doesn't just hurt, it wounds deeply. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents." But that tragedy extends far beyond family. It touches any relationship where a person's true self is missed or unacknowledged. The ego doesn't crave approval. It craves meaning. It needs to feel that its existence carries weight. When you're ignored, it's not just a social slight, it's a wound to your identity. It whispers, "You're not important enough to notice." But if rejection cuts like a blade, what helps heal? Not empty compliments or empty praise, those only mask the wound. True healing comes from reflection, not in a mirror, but through the gaze of someone who sees what you could become, even before you do. Aristotle taught that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, but sometimes you need another to hold the mirror steady before you can even look. When someone says, "I see more in you than you show," something awakens. That moment doesn't just affirm you, it challenges you. And in that challenge, the ego begins to shift, not because it's cajoled, but because it's seen. This is where true influence starts, not through loud declarations or constant explanations, but through presence, energy, and the unseen tension between who someone thinks they are and who you reflect they could become. Plato once said, "We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of the dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light." And sometimes, all it takes to ignite that light is a glance, a calm pause, a centered presence that says, "You are more than this I can see." That's not manipulation, that's clarity. And clarity, when tempered with restraint, holds a gravity of its own. People aren't drawn to those who pursue them with words. They're drawn to those who stand firm, who don't need to speak to be felt. That's how you reach someone's ego without uttering a sound. It's in how you stand. When tested, it's in the silence you allow rather than over-express. It's in the choice not to react because you have nothing to prove. Socrates believed that the only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. And in that humility, in that inner calm, there lies immense power. When you stop trying to dominate a conversation, you give others space to face themselves, and that's when their ego begins to listen, not out of obligation, but out of curiosity. It listens when there's mystery, not games. The kind that doesn't give everything away at once, but lets people feel the pull of discovery again. In a world addicted to immediate validation, your choice to remain partially unrevealed becomes sacred. Your boundaries become signals, and your presence becomes the message. Next time someone pushes you away or underestimates you, ask yourself, what am I reflecting back? Are you mirroring your own need for approval, or are you holding space and silence, showing that you are complete without them? That quiet assurance speaks louder than any defense. The ego responds not to noise, but to weight, not emotional baggage, but depth of meaning. When you stand in your truth, when you look at someone and see not what they are but what they avoid, you touch the oldest part of their soul, the part that wants to be seen, not praised for standing still. So what does it look like to communicate with the ego without speech? It is subtle, nearly invisible to most, but to those who feel it runs deep. Imagine yourself entering a room. You say nothing. You make no tragic effort to impress, yet the air changes. It feels heavier, not in a pressure-filled way but with gravity, not because of status or appearance, but because you move like someone who needs nothing from anyone in that room. Carl Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And when you step into a space grounded in yourself, unguided by approval, you embody that truth. You don't reflect back what others want to see, you show them what they've ignored about themselves. You don't point it out, you simply exist, and that alone makes them look inward. This isn't about intimidation or superiority, It's about showing up so fully in your own truth that others feel the contrast in their own fragmentation. Plato once said that the measure of a man is what he does with power, and true power isn't loud. It resonates in substance, consistent, unapologetic. When someone can't tell whether you admire them or simply observe them, something in them stirs. That's the ego searching, wondering, grasping for meaning in the silence. And in that grasping, influence is born not because you told them what to think, but because you made them feel their own truth more clearly. The most magnetic people leave space for others to fill, not with manipulation, but with presence. They let others reveal themselves not by prompting but by simply being. And that's the paradox. You speak to the ego not by filling silence but by letting it stretch, because in that space people hear what they usually avoid: their own self-doubt, their hunger for validation, their quiet fear of not being enough. Socrates believed the unexamined life is not worth living, and when you refuse to play the usual social games, you hold up a mirror that forces others to look, if only for a moment. They may not like what they see, but they won't forget it, and they won't forget you not because you dazzled them, but because your energy called something out of them they weren't ready to face. That's the secret of speaking to the ego without speech. It is not technique, it's truth. If you are centered, grounded, and detached from results, people feel it, and the ego, which thrives on comparison and performance, suddenly finds itself not in crisis, but in curiosity. And in that curiosity, transformation begins, not with words, but with awareness. That single quotes it. Influence in its purest form. Not control, but awakening. And the most powerful part, you never had to say a thing.